Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. The USC commitment sweatshirt comes back on twice in the last 24 hours as former NC State safety Bishop Fitzgerald committing to USC. This pickup makes so much sense for USC, and USC's been doing a really good job in this transfer portal window, kind of just getting some plug and play starters. We talked about a few on the offensive line. I look at Bishop Fitzgerald, and it was very clear that USC wanted to replace some of the production that Achille Arnold gave USC in the 2024 year. Not only do I think Bishop Fitzgerald comes in and replaces that production, quite frankly, I think this is an upgrade from what you got from Achille Arnold in the 2024 year. Look, to me, Achille Arnold was a guy that had played a lot of football and I think brought a very experienced piece into this USC defense in 2024, but I think physically was a little bit limited. Was a liability at times in coverage, didn't tackle in space the way you wanted a safety to. You look at Bishop Fitzgerald, you compare him to Achille Arnold. Bishop Fitzgerald in coverage at NC State last year, 32 targets, only gave up 19 catches, a 59% completion percentage when targeted, a very good number for a safety. You look at Achille Arnold, an 86% completion percentage when targeted. That was probably the biggest, challenge I think Danton Lynn had to navigate was when these safeties were asked to play a little bit of man coverage. They didn't really have a guy outside of Kamari Ramsey who could do that. I mean, you look at Zion Branch, you look at Bryson Shaw, very similar kind of conversations. Bishop Fitzgerald, he's a safety that can operate in man coverage. And I think, secondly, he tackles really well. An 11% missed tackle rate at NC State in 2024. You compare that to Achille Arnold, it was 17%. And so I look at this and say, not only do you find your starter to replace Achille Arnold, in my opinion, I think you upgrade that starter with Kamari Ramsey back there heading into 2025. And you look at Kamari Ramsey, you look at Bishop Fitzgerald, that's a really appealing safety duo for USC going into 2025. And then you kind of factor in maybe a Marquise Gallegos, maybe a Christian Pierce, some of those young guys that are kind of marinating in the pipeline. That's how you want it to look. Two safeties in Kamari Ramsey and Bishop Fitzgerald, who we trust. We know have played a lot of football at the Power 4 level, and then a lot of young, talented cats that are kind of working their way up through the pipeline. That's how you want a position room to look like. Landing Bishop Fitzgerald, it allows USC to go into spring practice with two safeties that you really trust. And that's not a knock on like Christian Pierce or Marquise Gallegos. Y'all know how I feel about Marquise Gallegos. I think he's going to be a stud, but it allows USC to kind of, hey, wait till the kid's ready to go out on the football field, and you put some veterans around him like Kamari Ramsey, like Bishop Fitzgerald. They're only going to make Marquise Gallegos a better football player in the future. Really big pickup, plug and play starter at safety opposite Kamari Ramsey, and quite frankly, an upgrade from Achille Arnold. Now, I want to get into Bishop Fitzgerald a little bit more, talk about what he brings to this USC defense before we do, and as always, to the USC fans, it been a blast talking this program. The amount of support y'all continue to show to the fellas, it means the absolute world. And we kind of said this yesterday night. It sounds like it's going to be a really fun week in USC football. You're hearing some buzz about a potential new GM. You're hearing some buzz about a potential new linebackers coach. We're talking about Bishop Fitzgerald right now. Going to be fun. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into Bishop Fitzgerald. This is a guy that spent some time at the JUCO ranks, joined this NC State program going into 2023. What stands out to me in 2024, one, he played so much football for them, over 700 snaps at NC State in 2024. What does that tell us immediately about Bishop Fitzgerald? This coaching staff liked him a lot. They didn't want to take him off the football field. I think number two, you kind of trust. I mean, Dave Dorr and Tony Gibson, they do their thing on the defensive side of the football in terms of player development. Getting a player from NC State, you kind of know the player is going to be pretty fundamentally sound and assignment sound coming to USC. Second thing that stands out to me, he brings you kind of the best of both worlds. He's a guy that has 5 interceptions over the last 2 years at NC State, but also had 13 run stops for NC State in 2024. This is a guy that, yeah, he can be that ball hawking single high safety. And you saw him pick off a pass from Nico in that week 2 game against Tennessee doing that role. But you also see him pretty routinely come up into the box and support the run. He's a very versatile guy in the back end. I mean, you take a look at the snap count, 208 snaps in the box, 112 at the nickel corner spot, 400 as a free safety. Versatility is really important for the Stanley defense. You know, how creative they got with Kamari Ramsey. You look at Achille Arnold again. I think USC wanted to get creative, but at points you just kind of were limited with the other safety opposite Kamari Ramsey. Zion Branch, Achille Arnold, Bryson Shaw weren't exactly safeties that you could ask to play man coverage and be successful. Bishop Fitzgerald brings that multi-dimensional versatile defensive back. I think that's what I was going for to this USC secondary, which I think is really good. And again, I love the 11% missed tackle rate, especially for a second level defender. When you're forced to make a lot of plays in space, do you have safeties that can go up and make those plays? Bishop Fitzgerald's kind of that guy. Now you look at the USC depth chart. This to me satisfies a massive need, right? We talked about this USC depth chart last week, and we said that safety position, you probably had some question marks, right? Kamari Ramsey was the only guy that I think we really trusted, right? Marquise Gallegos was a guy that maybe he will be ready in 2025, but you add Bishop Fitzgerald there. You look at Kamari Ramsey, Bishop Fitzgerald, two guys that have played a lot of football, and you know they're going to play solid football for you. And in Kamari Ramsey's case, elite football, it allows you to be I wouldn't say conservative, but it allows you to not put Marquise Gallegos or other younger safeties on the football field until they're ready. And that's kind of how you want it to look. And I think slowly but surely USC is starting to, one, check off the boxes of some of these plug and play starters. But I think more importantly, and this is a really big talking point, continue to build depth within this program. You talk about USC and the struggles that we saw in second half of football games at times or late in the season. I don't know if the depth has been properly built. You can use the transfer portal not only to get plug and play guys, but you can also build some depth. And I think I look at that linebacker room and say, all right, Desmond Stevens, Eric Gentry, I think we all like that linebacker duo a lot. You got some talented true freshmen coming in. We'll start with that. But you probably want a little bit more depth. That's maybe one of those last positions you look at and say, hey, maybe USC can go grab a body. But you look at the defensive line and bringing in Keyshawn Silver, bringing in Jamal Jarrett, bringing in true freshman Jakeem Stewart, retaining some guys like Devin Tompkins, Carlin Jones, and G-Day. You start to look at it and say, we're deeper at the places we needed to get deeper at. And that's a really important talking point for USC as well. Plug and play starter with Bishop Fitzgerald, a guy that I think upgrades your safety play from what it was last year with Achille Arnold. Those are the boxes that you want to see checked in the transfer portal. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.